There is a solution for that is sponsored by VARC Solutions. VARC Solutions helps small businesses succeed by delivering expert QuickBooks bookkeeping, consulting, quick-base development, and integrated solutions. If you own a small to medium-sized business that uses QuickBooks or QuickBase, the experts at VARC Solutions can help. In business since 1999, with people who care and the knowledge and experience to solve your toughest problems. Visit varcsolutions.com for all your QuickBooks needs. Welcome back to another edition of There's a Solution for That, where we help small businesses succeed by discussing challenging business problems and best-in-class solutions. All right, welcome everybody to this week's episode of There is a Solution for That. Glad that you've come, glad that you're here, and we've got a great podcast for you today. We have a guest, Jasmine Echeveria, who is going to be talking about, from her background and from her expertise, on the topic of first impressions and why those are important. And so when we think of like the solution to that problem, we're basically talking about the problem of not having a great first impression. How do we overcome that, and how we maybe have planned and prepared to be better, to have a better first impression. So Jasmine, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, tell us a little bit about you, because I know you work with women in particular, but just in general, tell us about what you do.
Yes, I am the founder of Elegant Empowerment, and I am a lifestyle, personal brand, personal stylist consultant. So, what I focus on is helping women build their confidence. And how I do that is helping them work on their mindset, helping work on a proper etiquette, whether it's business or social etiquette, and personal styling, personal branding. How do you package and present yourself to the world?
Okay. Well, that's a great segue into the first, really important question, which is, if you're working on etiquette, and that's a lot of, and I think that's, for at least from my perspective, that's kind of how you show up, right, and how you act within a group, and so obviously there's first impressions that happen. You're
Yes.
going into a networking group, or maybe you're just having lunch with friends or what have you, or with with a new business opportunity. So tell us about that. Why is the first impression so important, and how do you help people with that?
Yes, absolutely. And that's such a great question because believe it or not, it takes only about 7 seconds. There's a majority of studies say that it takes about 7 seconds for somebody to make a decision on you based on your body language, based on your appearance, and that is before you even say a word. So that's how important how you walk into a room, how you hold yourself, all of that matters. And how do you prepare for that in advance? Well, you definitely can prepare for that in advance. The first thing I would recommend is make sure that if you can do research on the person that you're coming in to meet, that's always a great, that's a great kind of map to tell you how do you dress? Because the goal is you want to match the person, you want to mirror the person. You still want to be authentically yourself, but you also want to be likable, relatable. So in that case, let's say you are going to like a finance convention. This would be the time to wear the darker colors. As a woman, make sure you're wearing the closed toe shoes, business professional for that setting. If we're going to the women's afternoon tea, it's a totally different, how we're going to be dressed up and showing up. So if you don't know the group or the audience, then research the venue and the theme. That way you'll know ahead of time, at least how to put your presentation ahead of time.
That's fantastic. Well, I know I've been, gone to restaurants, in advance of the restaurant, calling them up and saying, "Hey, do you have a dress code?" I've met people at country clubs, same thing. It's like, jackets required, not required? Or shorts okay? Shorts not
Yes.
okay? And that's obviously more about the venue, but I really, really like and appreciate your point about doing the research on the person or the people that you're meeting, because that's ultimately, those are the people who care, right? It's the people that you're
Yes.
meeting. um and like you said, in the finance arena, maybe a little bit more professional. Yeah, absolutely. So It's interestingly enough, I've been in networking environments where, there's like maybe a big ballroom or something, and people are kind of coming and going, and you go into the restroom and coming back, and I've actually seen people walking into the ballroom with the toilet paper stuck to their feet,
Ah!
their shoe, they didn't realize it,
Yeah.
those types of things. Obviously those are normal, natural human things, and people, probably don't take that too seriously, but it's not the best first impression.
I love that you said that because a lot of people think that they can't recover from a first impression, but you always can. Your next meeting can always set a new standard, where you probably can't bounce back if it was a job interview or a first date. That's probably the only opportunity you're going to get. But when it comes to social groups and social settings, you definitely can rebound from that and come back again. If you ever do make an error in a social setting, it's best to just, laugh it off, try to correct it, and then just move on. Don't let it overtake you. The less attention you give it and moving forward, the less attention the group will give it. So in a situation like that, just remove it, laugh it off. Oh my gosh, that's so embarrassing, and then move on, you know,
Right.
and then just act like nothing happened.
Perfect. Well, so you mentioned, like dress, like how you're
Mhm.
dressed. That obviously is the first thing that people see before you start talking or
Yeah.
interacting, right, in a social environment. But what other things besides dress, do you recommend people focus on, think about, plan for, prepare for?
Yes, yes, absolutely. There's actually seven elements that we want to focus on when it comes to a first impression. And I'm going to list all of them and then I'll kind of break down each one of them. And the first one is physical placement, facial control, personal presentation, posture, voice, body language, and charisma. So these are the seven things that really embody that impression. So when it comes to physical placement, it starts from the moment we're walking into a room. When we walk into a room, we want to make sure that we have, our chin level to the ground. We don't want it too high, too low, because those also communicate different things. We want our shoulders back, walk in, and when we walk into a room, we never want to put our back to the room. There, believe it or not, we want to close the door behind us, make sure we're switching hands behind us, and we're never putting our back to the room. So that's our presentation walking in. So that's the first part. And when we're walking in, we want facial control. Facial control means our eyes are open, our mouth is parted. Believe it or not, when your mouth is closed or tight, you don't look approachable. We want a part, we want a smile, and the eyes open, not squinting. That communicates insecurity or fear. When it comes to personal presentation, that is making sure our outfit is put together. All of the little details matter. Your skin, your hair, your nails. One little thing off, and they could throw the whole presentation off. And that could mean you have your whole outfit together. And you come to a meeting and you pull out a binder that has ripped edges and it just looks all disheveled. You just lost your credibility based on like the presentation of your binder or your briefcase. So all of those details matter from head to toe. When it comes to posture, like I said, our chin needs to be level with the ground. Too high, you just look unapproachable, high and mighty. Too low, you look insecure and you don't want to be approached. Shoulders back shows I'm alert, I'm confident, I'm powerful, I'm ready to be engaged in this conversation. Voice, we want to focus on its pitch. I'm sorry, I remember there's four of them. When it comes to our voice, we want to focus on pitch, pace, pause, and passion. With our pitch, too high is you can give off, I'm insecure. I don't even believe what I'm saying. When we focus on pace, talking too fast, we sound insecure, nervous. Too slow, we might sound monotone and kind of lose our audience. And the importance of the pause is that so that the conversation is going back and forth. So it's not so one-sided. And then passion, oh, sorry, I
No,
see
I was just gonna say, I mean, pardon me for interrupting.
yeah,
um,
perfect pause.
I think that pause thing is really, really important. Because I have known lots and lots of people who, they do a lot of talking, they talk very, very quickly, and they don't take that break in the conversation to allow someone else to interrupt, ask a question, get clarification. I never want to be that person that's kind of like listening to somebody and then like not getting something. And then it's 5 minutes later before I get a chance to say, now, 5 minutes ago, what did you mean when you said it? Because it just doesn't feel right. And maybe I forgot about it. And or maybe I'm just lost for the next 5 minutes. So that
Yeah.
that pause, just every once in a while, take a breath, you know,
Yeah.
maybe somebody else has a question. So keep going,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to I wanted to pause you there because I think
Yeah, that
that's
was perfect.
super important.
Yeah, making sure that we have moments of pause to make sure the conversation is going back and forth, and then speaking with passion. So, we want to make sure we're talking about things that we're passionate about, and that helps you be memorable as well. And we also, body language, and the body language, you want to make sure you're approachable, you put your phone away, and you're looking directly at people. We want to make sure that we're making eye contact before and after a handshake.
Mhm.
And this is one of my pet peeves. I can't stand when people do this to me. When you're having a conversation with somebody and they're looking at everybody around the room but you, but trying to
Oh
talk to
yeah.
you, it's almost like they're almost looking for the next best thing to talk to,
Right.
talk to.
Right.
And you're like, I want this conversation over because you don't even look like you want to talk to me. So make sure
Yeah.
you're looking at the person that you're engaged with and talking to, and making sure we're like nodding
Hmm.
and so that's
That's
one
a
thing.
that's a tough one too because
Mhm.
it's so tempting, especially I mean, if you're in a one-on-one lunch engagement or something like that, it's probably easier to focus on that person that's sitting right in
Mhm.
front of you.
Mhm.
But yeah, when you're in a more of a networking situation where there's, 10 people, 15 people, 100 people,
Mhm.
it's really, really hard to not try to be, not be aware of all the stuff that's happening around, but at the same time focusing on that one person in front of you. I remember it, I do a lot of audiobooks, and in one of the audiobooks, I remember them telling a story about Bill Clinton and how he was a master at focusing on this one person that's in front of him. Hey John, shake your hand, and then like
Mhm.
literally everything's going on around, and it's just like nobody else exists in the world. And anyways, the book was kind of sharing how important that made other people feel because of his intense focus on that one person in the moment. And so it just drives home that point.
Yes, and I can understand how that could also be a struggle when you're networking because the goal is to meet multiple people, right? And so the best way to kind of exit that situation when you're ready to move on is, either you can mention, "Oh, I've meant to go say hi to this other person. Thank you so much, for your time." Or if you see somebody coming in, that's a great time to introduce them to each other and go like, "Hey, so and so, I would like to introduce you to so and so. This person does this person does that. I think you guys, would have a great conversation." And then exit yourself. And you helped, keep that flow going of networking. So I think that would be the best way to kind of exit that because I know sometimes we get stuck a little too long
Hmm.
and others are kind of scared to network the room and they're just
Yeah.
glad they found somebody to talk to them.
No, it's great. Well,
Yeah.
let me ask you this on the topic of etiquette,
Mhm.
because I think this is a common struggle for a lot of folks, and this is not like a networking topic, but
Mhm.
I think this fits with the conversation that we're having, and that's I again I've personally been in networking environments where there's already kind of like little huddles of people talking, right? There's two people talking,
Mhm.
there's another three people talking, there's another two people talking, and it's kind of like you walk over next to them and you're hoping that at some point somebody will say, hey, come on in and enjoin the conversation, but oftentimes that doesn't that welcoming come join us doesn't happen, and so you're just standing there awkwardly.
Yes.
So from an etiquette perspective, what are some techniques, or what are some suggestions on how to politely break into a group of two or three people talking so that you can be part of that networking conversation?
Right. So when you have like different huddles, I would pay attention to body language because some groups are closed off, but some groups are open. And if you can see them open where they're not completely closed off, then that means this group is open to having other people join. And that's what you should first focus on is seeing which groups are open, which groups are closed. Start making your way to the open groups. And
Mhm.
when you come in, be brave, be bold, find a pause in the conversation and go, "Hi, my name is Jasmine." And make your introduction, let them know who you are. This is my first time here. Pleasure to meet you guys. And that's it. And let the conversation keep rolling, you
Yeah.
know?
I love it. Well, I'm always when I think of that on both sides, I'm always mindful of I don't want to take the current conversation that's happening between two or three people off the rails. I don't want to interrupt that. Like, oh, hey, talk to
Yeah.
me. So like you said, it's kind of lean into it a little bit. Hopefully, they open up and invite you in, but at the same time, I kind of let them finish the conversation and let them initiate the oh, who are you? Or, tell, hi, I've never not met you before. What do you do? That kind of
Mhm.
stuff versus me. Hey, let me just
Yeah,
butt in here.
charging
Let me
in.
just butt in
Yeah.
here and have a
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
So I think that's really, really helpful. And I like your point about the openness or the
Mhm.
closeness.
Mhm.
And and so I think this is something we can all be mindful of. I know, again, when I'm in a room and I'm talking with somebody and I do kind of see some people that are maybe getting closer or maybe wanting to be part of that, I do intentionally, create a little bit of a room where I might step aside a little bit to
Mhm.
create that openness, because I want people to come in and join the conversation. Um, but I think that takes focus and intention as well. It doesn't necessarily happen naturally, but if you plan for it, and I think that's a lot of what we're talking about here is like, how do you plan to have a better impression?
Mhm.
That can be helpful.
Yeah, and if you are in a position where you're already in with the group and you see somebody on the outside, be mindful of that to bring them into the conversation, find them, bring them in, introduce them to people. That's always great to advocate on their behalf because not everybody's just naturally good at it. You can learn these skills, but sometimes it takes time, especially if you're an introvert.
Yep. So
And
what else was on your list or suggestions for the first impression?
um, always putting the others first. When you get them to talk about themselves, if you get them, give them compliments, obviously be genuine, make sure it is a genuine compliment, but be mindful of it. If they did a great presentation, acknowledge the presentation. If there's something about, I don't know, you notice the particular jacket they have, you're like, oh, that's a nice brand, that looks great, or whatever. You just make sure we're complimenting them, putting others first, and when we're having the conversation, make sure that we're being mindful of, like, okay, I said my piece. What about you? Where did you go? What did you do? Let's get them to talking about themselves because the more that they talk about themselves, the more they end up liking you because
Hmm.
they got the moment to talk about themselves and feel heard. And so my fun little other tips were when to do a handshake, when to do the air kiss, when to do the cheek kiss, and when to do a hug.
Hmm. Yep.
So the handshake, whether it's man or women, we should always be doing like a web to web and two pumps. That's professional. More than two pumps, and now we're being friendly and social. So two pumps, it's professional. Let's get to business. And women and men should both be assertive in their handshake. I don't know where we got this impression that women need to have a soft little flimsy. No, be there, be assertive. The air kiss is when we do like one cheek to one cheek, and then
Hmm.
we make the sound. And this is one kiss on the right side in the US. Other countries, they'll go both sides. This is done socially. I have done it in business settings where people just they came from different cultures and they were very friendly. I'm okay with it. And now the cheek kiss. If you ever kiss somebody on the cheek, that is reserved for friends and family and should not be done in public social events because you know, heaven forbid you're at a wedding and, the aunt kisses, one of the cousins and now he's got lipstick on his cheek and he's walking
Mm,
around with red lipstick on his cheek. It's just not a good look.
right.
So keep that for private events. And then the hug is reserved for close friends and family. So
Okay.
I know sometimes it gets, in the professional setting, eventually they become your friends. But at
Mhm.
first, let's not start with a hug. Let's start with a nice, firm handshake, and then we can grow from there.
Yeah, no, and so let me kind of talk about a few of those again from my experience. So the I want to talk about the handshake part and I want to talk about the hug part. I don't ever do the kissing part. I don't know if that's maybe more of a female, friend, but I think in yeah, in a strictly professional environment where you don't know anybody or you know very few people, the handshake is definitely the way to go. But I've also been in groups where we've gotten to know some people. Not friends. We're not going hanging out. We're not going and having a drink together, or
Mhm.
having dinner together. But it seems like male, female, those kind of side hugs are
Mm.
generally pretty good,
Mhm.
pretty approachable, pretty common, and
Mhm.
and seem to work really well. But again, it should be natural, right? It shouldn't be like a forced fit on either one. I don't want to
Right.
go hug somebody I've never met, and vice versa. But I think, it seems like in today's day and age, that's still pretty acceptable to do the kind of like the little side hug, when you are somewhat familiar with this person and you have a good relationship.
Right. Getting into the area of friends. Like we're
Yeah,
now friends. We're friendly.
yeah,
Yes.
perfect. And so the handshake, this is something I actually have very, very strong opinions about. So I'm curious, you already talked about, like, females having a too soft handshake. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think that works both ways. Nobody wants a wet fish, right? Nobody wants
No.
um, I think the other thing that I've personally experienced on the receiving end is when somebody kind of clips my fingers off, like
Oh, they
do
go too
they
hard.
do it too
Yeah.
quick, and
Yeah.
they don't go all the way in, and
Yeah.
suddenly my fingers are getting squeezed by their hand. That is so frustrating. I mean, it's not like one of these, oh, I hate this person because they did that.
Yeah.
It's more of just like, I don't like that. That didn't feel very good.
We didn't get a solid connection. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like you clipped my fingers. So I don't really like that. But the other side of it is I've had people that have literally hurt my hand, and I'm not being a wimp here. I mean, literally they cranked down on my hand,
Yeah.
and I remember walking away from that handshake going, my hand still hurts, because
Yeah.
they were so firm, right?
Yeah.
And I've actually mentioned that a few times, not every time, but I've mentioned it to some folks that I have a little bit more of a personal relationship where I could give them some feedback. And I've said,
Yeah.
my hand literally hurts, from that
Yeah.
handshake. You
Yeah.
might want to just soften that up a little bit. Um, so I think you can go too extreme, right? You can go
Yes.
too soft, you can go too hard. It's good to have that balance kind of right there in the middle.
Yeah, just firm, like, show that you're there. But I mean, I don't know where the power thing, like the really strong, it feels too aggressive and
Yeah,
it doesn't seem like a welcome exchange there.
yeah,
And then too soft comes off as like I'm weak, I'm meek, I
yeah,
can't be relied on either, like just be a reliable,
yeah.
firm handshake.
Has anybody squeezed your hand too hard? I mean, I was just curious if this is kind of like an isolated thing for me.
No, it is. And it's mainly, I hate to say this, but it's mainly men. Like they're
Yeah,
really aggressive.
yeah, yeah,
But I almost think it's a reflex for them because I know they know they're shaking a woman's hand, but I think that's the way they shake a hand.
yeah.
And so that's where they need that feedback of like easy.
Ouch. Yeah, ouch.
Ouch.
Well, so you've mentioned a number of things, that are really good in that first impression. There's a couple you didn't mention though that I want to at least bring up and get
Sure.
your insights on, because again, I try to personalize this. I like what have I liked, what have I not liked, what has been a good first impression or not a good first impression for me. And two things particularly stand out for me. One is bad breath, and then the second is kind of like how you smell. Okay, now obviously women, a lot
Mm.
more perfume and that kind of stuff, which is fine. But
Hmm.
anytime there's like a breakfast where there's
Hmm.
orange juice, that is like, for me, that is like, stay away from the orange juice because coffee and orange juice don't mix well when it comes to breath. And I've had people that I've been talking to, and literally I've wanted to walk away. I've literally wanted to run away because they had that orange juice coffee breath,
Mm.
and that's not great, right? So,
Yeah.
maybe carrying around some mints, but personally, I would just like stay away from the orange juice and coffee. Coffee's fine, but
Yeah.
mixed with orange juice,
To
for
make
whatever
it.
reason, it's not good.
It's a lot of acidity clashing there. I never thought about that, but you're absolutely right. And when it comes to, how do we counteract it? I love the idea of the mint. We don't want to be chewing gum in front of somebody because the last thing we want to see is like a somebody masticating something in front of you.
Yeah.
So a mint so that it will dissolve and at least that'll give you some relief. So that's always good to carry mints.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's all part of that presentation. It's like your package, and that is how somebody is going to experience you, how you
Hmm.
sound, how you smell, how you look, all of it.
Yep. And then on the smell part, this is an interesting thing. I think, if we rewound the clock 20, 30 years, there was a lot more people that smoked. And I
Yeah,
think it was more of a not more of a natural thing, but I just think there was more people smoking. This is before all the rules about, hey, you have to, 100 feet away from the building, all those type of no smoking policies. But I I I know when somebody has smoked because they're coming in and they smell like smoke.
it follows them. Yeah.
It really does.
Mhm.
And for and again, I don't smoke, so this is just my kind of like my reaction to it. I think if somebody's a very casual smoker, it's probably you're not going to have that type of thing. But I've been in networking environments where the person in front of me smelled like they're a chain smoker, and
Mm,
it's all over themselves, it's all over their clothes, and it
yeah.
is so strong. I mean, so strong that again, I mean, it's like invading my personal space with their smell,
Yeah.
and that's something I don't think you want to do with smoke. I don't think that's something you probably want to do with perfume. It's like you don't want it to
Yeah.
be too much, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough one because I mean, smoking is an addiction. So,
mhm,
like, and I'm sure they're smoking at a networking event because they're probably nervous, and then you add that element. So, yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, if ideally, if they could control it, I'm sure they would. I would assume so.
sure.
Yeah, so I guess the advice would be try not to smoke in an enclosed building or enclosed car. Smoke outside, wash your hands, take off
Yeah.
your jacket while you're smoking and then put it on after. I don't know. Try to
Yeah.
eliminate the amount of exposure to the fabrics and all of that so you're not carrying it in. And for women, when it comes to perfume, that's the same thing is we don't want to be spraying the perfume directly on us because it's just too intense. You want to spray it up in the air and walk in and make sure it's like a mist on you.
Hmm.
So that it's you're not because after a while our nose becomes blind to it and we're not smelling it, but the people around us are smelling it intensely.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and when it comes to body odor though, that one's a hard one too because I don't know if people can smell their own body odors. Some can, some can't.
I don't think they can. I know my teenage son couldn't. It's like, hey son, you're going to work. You realize those clothes you should have washed. Those are the same ones you wore yesterday. It kind of
Uh,
stinks. Yeah, I don't. I think to your point, when that's what you're living in all the time, you do
mm,
lose perspective on that, and so maybe it's having someone that you can ask for honest feedback. And hey, I'm going to this event. How do I look? How do I smell? How do I,
yeah.
whatever? If you're open to the feedback, but well, this has been great. I do have a
Mhm.
question for you, sort of as we start wrapping up, and that's let's say that you've done the best you can. You've tried to show up and have a good first impression, but for whatever reason, it didn't go well. You maybe let's assume that you're aware of the fact that you maybe didn't have a good first impression. How do you recover from that, either in the moment or maybe at the next event? I mean, how do you recover from a bad impression?
So like in the moment, like I said, if you made like a faux pas, acknowledge it, and then try your best to kind of like laugh it off and then move forward and follow the sequence of things that you should be working on, your posture, your voice, and it'll be quickly forgotten. When it comes to, you felt like you just couldn't recover in the moment, when you come back to the same group, I mean, follow those cues again. Make sure you walk in with that confidence. You walk in, you put your presentation together, you're controlling your facial expressions, your um, posture, voice, body language, charisma, all of that. And maybe the second time you kind of shook off the nerves and you're feeling a little bit more confident. I know sometimes I do much better on a second presentation versus a first presentation because I've shaken all the nerves off. So yeah, people remember you by the last interaction. Honestly, they'll
Yeah.
forget.
Well, I know, and since I know you, since you primarily focus on helping women with this topic, the
Mhm.
etiquette, the first impressions, things like that. I'm sure that you are more aware of this than even I am, and I think women in general, they tend to beat themselves up a lot. The self, what you call it,
Loathing.
just
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, just like, oh gosh, I really messed that up, and just beating
Mhm.
themselves up after something
Mhm.
like that. Um, and and so how do you help people that maybe have gotten into that mode where they're just like, I could just never do this right, and I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. How do you go from that to being able to show up with that confidence?
Oh, that's a beautiful question, because that's exactly where it starts. We have to start with your personal narrative, what you're telling yourself, because what you tell yourself is what's going to exude out. So we have to start with yourself. Like, what are you saying to yourself? And this is where we start on those mindset practices of, well, how do you want to show up? What do you want to be known as? What do you want your personal brand to be? When you walk into a room, how do you want people to address you and see you as? Okay, now let's start telling yourself that's who you are. And let's start taking steps to reinforce that. Whether that's how you walk and talk, whether that's how you dress, let's start putting that into practice so that becomes your new normal, that becomes your new baseline.
Got
But
it.
at first, we do feel like a fraud because it feels outside of our normal. And until we practice it enough, like anything, then we'll get good at it.
Right. Okay. Very cool. Well, so I know you also have a book coming out. Tell us about the book that's coming out.
I do. I'm very excited. So I've been asked over the years to kind of put some of these skills and ideas into a book. And I've been working on this over the last year. And I finally got it down to, we're down in edit. We're getting the editing done, the photography done, and that should be launching in September. And in this book, it's called The Elegant Woman's Guide to Confidence, Wealth, and Luxury Living. And I cover everything from how to build unshakable confidence, the wealth mindset of an elegant woman, elevating your personal brand and presence, and designing a life of luxury and ease. And then I love this favorite one, relationships and love in an elegant life. So I
Okay.
cover all of the topics that I know most women would love to talk about. So everything from confidence, love, finances, and everything in between.
That's awesome. Awesome. And when this is finished and published, where is it going to be available?
So it's going to be available on my website as well as on Amazon.
Okay. So
Mhm.
Amazon, like as in Kindle or like physical book.
It will be a physical book to purchase.
Okay,
Mhm.
perfect. And so
Mhm.
how do people get a hold of you if they want to learn more about you and or your upcoming book?
Yes, thank you. My website is www.elegantempowerment.net. And there you can contact me and you can either purchase services or just reach out to me and get on my email list, either one. And that way we can correspond through there. I'm also on TikTok and Instagram under Elegant Empowerment.
Okay, fantastic. Well,
Mhm.
as we wrap up, any last tips that maybe we didn't talk about, but you had kind of like in your list of like, I've got to tell people about this?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I don't think I have anything in particular. I think my fun ones I already covered. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay, awesome.
Just I guess I'll leave on this. We want to be likable and relatable, but we always want to stay authentic to ourselves. So just remember that we are still wanting to be true and genuine, even when we're trying to make sure we're having the best impression. It's always best to still make sure you're still there and you are represented.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you. So Jasmine Echeveria, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it. And for those of you that are listening in or watching on YouTube, thanks for coming. I hope you got a lot out of this podcast. Please do share it with other people, especially ones that care about first impressions and etiquette and basically showing up as their best authentic self. And keep watching and listening. So thanks for coming, and we'll talk to you next time.
There is a Solution for That is produced by VARC Solutions. This episode was produced by Ashley White and Aaron Riley. You can subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Watch the video version on youtube.com/there's a solution for that. Or visit varcsolutions.com/podcast, where you'll find our entire podcast archive, as well as show notes, links to solution providers, and complete transcripts of every episode.
If you love the podcast, please leave a review with your comments.